Hi everyone, Sane Man here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Tom, and here's what he has to say. Hi Sane Man, I have a video request that you look at the causes, as well as the actionable solutions to Oneitis. I'm a severely depressed and suicidal man over the Canadian-Irish girl that I knew from the 10th grade of high school. She was the first girl I truly loved, and I emotionally invested so much into her that it left me irrevocably traumatized. I still present many behaviors symptomatic of post-traumatic stress disorder from this ordeal. My Oneitis has driven me to the point of attempting suicide as well. As much as I can intellectually accept that all women are like that as a way of debunking Oneitis, she's a very mature only child with a ton in common, and also the strongest connection that I've ever had with another person. Her Nawal status, especially compared to the cesspool of other women out there, is nigh on impossible to demote and depedestalize when I have actually been close to her for 3 years and she stands out from every other female at any age group that I've interacted with in her self-awareness, genuine character, and altruistic demeanor. How do I go about getting over this Oneitis having driven me to the verge of suicide? Not least when the scarcity of these types of human beings has driven it to you, and she truly is the needle in the Canadian-Irish haystack. Thank you for your tireless work, Tom. Well, Tom, thanks for your donation as well as your topic request. I will do my best to give you advice, but if you're still suicidal, then I suggest that you see a professional therapist. You're from Canada, so you can get government-funded psychotherapists or group therapy sessions. Psychologists and psychiatrists are not always funded by the government programs, but psychotherapists are actually licensed family doctors that can also act like psychologists. My suggestion is that you go get a personal therapist and eventually graduate to group therapy. The reason I think that group therapy could actually benefit you is because you hear good stories of older men and women that have actually gone through many different things in their lives, and you can basically ask them how they dealt with losing their first love. We all know that pain that goes along with losing our first love. It took me almost 4 years to get to the point where I was completely over the first woman that I loved as an adult. On top of that, I was the one that pulled the trigger, broke my own heart because the relationship was no good for me. While I was grieving, I met another woman and had someone to love during my difficult time. This is a possible strategy, to go out and meet other women and have your heart broken over and over again until it toughens you up emotionally and makes you see that all women are the same. The only way that you'll accept the fact that all women are like that is once you date more women. You're probably a young guy, so I would suggest that you date, and once you go through enough emotional abuse at the hands of enough women, then you'll become jaded enough to know that deep down inside, all women are the same. No matter how many of them show up on this YouTube channel and tell you that they're different, never believe it, and also never let yourself get lulled into a false sense of security. Group therapy worked wonders for me because I was introduced to a bunch of people that were absolute losers, and I learned from the mistakes that they had made. I met many people trapped in relationships with women they adored, and then basically they were treated like horse poop. It sounds to me like you absolutely refuse to let go of this girl, and until you do, you can't fully grieve the loss of your relationship. The only way you can do that is to pretty much accept that it's over, cry in your pillow for a year or two if necessary, and start doing things where you're actually meeting other women, and according to Shakespeare, the best remedy for a broken heart is a new love. That's according to Romeo and Juliet. That's one of the reasons why I believe women move on so quickly after a relationship ends. They don't want to digest any possible pain or negative feelings, but instead move on to more happy feelings. Also, if you go to a therapist, try and avoid drugs unless you actually have to with regards to your suicidal tendencies and negative behaviors. I honestly don't think that anyone should be taking medication for mental illness unless it's absolutely necessary. The best way to deal with pain is through cognitive behavioral therapy. You also once again need to understand that losing your first love is very difficult for everyone. Losing my first love also felt like post-traumatic stress disorder as well, and I was the one that actually put the bullet through my own heart. The reason you might also think that your Canadian ginger is not like all the other women out there is because she's still young and doesn't have that much emotional baggage, as I'm guessing that she's in her late teens or early 20s. Back in the day when women got married in their late teens or early 20s and never dated around, they'd never learned to sharpen their talons and manipulate men the way that today's cock gobblers are basically doing by trying to suck up some rich Willy Wonkas. I'm guessing that in 5 years, your ginger sweetheart will be meaner than the Joker after Bane is done giving it to him from behind after dropping the soap in Arkham Asylum. I guarantee he won't be laughing anymore. When I was in the 10th grade, I also ran into a girl and developed feelings for her and was obsessed with her for a few months. I thought that she was a perfect angel, and after I broke my own heart and decided not to date her, she got pissed off and immediately began showing interest in some other guys a few days later. Women like to make us feel like we're the only guy in the world when we're around them, and we are when it's our turn. Remember that she's not your girl, it's just your turn. You say that you've been close to her for 3 years, so I'm guessing that she basically put you in the friend zone and you're not telling her how you feel, because if you do, then she rejects you and you lose all access to her. Sometimes women that put you in the friend zone will notice you and basically consider dating you if you've actually accomplished something great or work on yourself to elevate your status above theirs. You could put effort into working out and building your body. If that fails to attract her, it actually might attract other women, and you might actually forget all about her as a result. Maybe start a business and start making money, and then she's going to see you differently and become attracted. But to me, your ginger joker sounds like a typical woman, and if you've actually been close to her for 3 years and she potentially leads you on, you might actually be in the friend zone. If you don't think that she's going to date you, or you know for sure, then what the hell are you still doing talking to her? The only way to get over someone is to completely cut yourself off from talking to them or seeing them and pretending like they're pretty much dead. Don't kill yourself while you're basically still torturing yourself by being around this person that you can't have. You're not a divorced man that's still forced to interact with a woman that might have actually broken your heart and stolen your children. Put yourself in those guys' shoes for a second and you'll understand that there are many other people out there with worse pain. I recently passed a kidney stone and it was excruciatingly painful and it took me a few hours. I spoke to another person, he started laughing and told me that it took him 3 weeks and it was almost a centimeter across. My pain seemed small at that point, and that was pretty much that. If this woman really cared for you, then she would understand by now the effect that she has on you when you're around, and she would actually have cut you loose like a lost puppy. I hate it when women know that you love them and try to friend zone you anyways because they want the attention, but they don't actually want to give you any sucky. To me, that's the meanest thing you can do to a guy. You just keep him hanging on. At least have the decency to cut the guy off. But you can't because you're addicted to attention, and just like all women, you'll be angry when one day even the perverts don't actually want to take any pictures up your skirt anymore. That will be the saddest day in your life. Tom, I really hope this girl knows that you're contemplating suicide, and if she put 1 plus 1 together and figured it was because she wouldn't give you any romantic relationship attention, then how could she still be the perfect angel? That's not like all the other women out there, is it? Tom, you're a young guy and your hormones are raging, so you're not going to be able to see a lot of this stuff until you get older and realize that it's not your fault feeling the way that you do. It is your fault to keep torturing yourself and hanging around the woman you have an obsession over. Many of my old high school friends got terrible Oneitis when they were still in school, and over time, they learned that they were friend-zoned and used, and many of them are basically going their own way today. And they could all easily find a controlling wife and have a family, but they finally understand that being ignored and poorly treated by women while you're younger is a blessing in disguise, because when you're younger you learn about the bad parts of female nature. So when you get older and women basically up their game, you already know that it's not all peaches and pussy cream. I just can't believe this ginger joker of yours hasn't done any bad things that you can actually see, and that she's also projected this perfect image of herself to everyone else around her. Another thing you could do is possibly go to an escort to get your mind off this girl, or possibly go to a happy endings massage parlor. I know that if I was ready to commit suicide, that I would actually have gotten laid first, and if I had actually gotten laid, then it probably would have changed my mind. Thanks to the whores out there, because you probably save more lives than you can imagine. But be careful, because being a John in Canada is now illegal these days. Prostitutes are the world's oldest profession and also the world's first therapists. Also, Tom, you live on the left coast and it's always seemed to be raining and basically cloudy in that part of Canada. Perhaps do some traveling and it'll uplift your spirits, and maybe you'll meet some new women on your travels. You can even do one of those European vacations from the back of a bus where you meet young random women from all over the world. I know that traveling can get my mind off of women because I've met many women on my travels and they were a lot more friendly than the women here in Canada. I don't care what you say about this ginger joker Canadian woman that you're interested in. I know that Canadian women are notorious feminists, and so are women from the west coast of the United States. So it must be a double whammy there in BC. I've heard a lot of men from that part of Canada complain about the women and tell me that they're even worse than the women in Toronto. I can't really believe that, but there must actually be some validity to that claim based on the number of men who've actually told me the same thing. Being depressed about just this girl I find rather hard to believe. There must be other reasons in your life that you didn't mention. Maybe treat yourself and give yourself the things that you aren't getting and that could actually uplift your spirits as well. Right now we barely see the sun in this part of Ontario, and people get seasonal disorders where the weather depresses the crap out of them. I knew one guy that came here from Colorado and was going crazy because he couldn't see the sun for almost a month plus. And the days are also extra short here in January. Other things that you can do through this tough time, Tom, is to basically hang out with your friends and do fun things, to go out and get your old ginger snaps. You must have heard of ginger snaps, and if you haven't, I've actually put a link in the description to one of the ginger snaps films. Ironically, the redhead in this film is Canadian, and it's part of the Canadian horror series. Anyways, just to recap, Tom, if you really want to get over this Oneitis, then you're going to have to cut yourself off from this ginger joker and go cold turkey. Possibly get yourself a good therapist, and if the government pays for it, then that's a bonus for you. Also, a cure for the love obsession is sometimes finding another love obsession to basically get you out there and date because you're still young. Don't impregnate or live with anyone, just date and have some fun because you're young, and somewhere along the way you'll become jaded like the rest of us, and you'll then see women for what they truly are. Here's a hint, it rhymes with piece of grit. Also remember that no woman is worth your life, except perhaps Jessica Alba. I mean, just look at her, isn't she hot? I mean, who wouldn't want to sop that up with a biscuit? But regardless, hopefully that helps, and that's all I have to say for today. Thanks again, Tom, for your donation as well as your topic. Don't forget to check out the MGTOW mystery link and smash that like button. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the friend zone Oneitis away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.